Hello St John's, welcome back. It is Monday the 8th of March and we have today had our first day back at school together, and I hope you've all had a really good day back to school. And another important thing about today is that it's a celebration day. Today is International Women's Day, and I've come on here now to have a talk with you and do a very special Disney Club relating to International Women's Day. So International Women's Day relates back to the early 1900s when a group of women known as the suffragettes, that you might have heard of, fought for the right of women to vote and fought to make women equal to men. And in society prior to that time, women were treated differently to men and weren't allowed to vote. And the suffragettes fought for the right for us to have voices and for our opinions and our votes to count. And that has led to the world that we live in today, and the right that we all have to vote and to be treated equally. And now that was in the early 1900s, like I said, and the world has come a long way since then. And of course, women do now vote and we have lots of rights, but there are still instances in the world and around the world where women are treated differently to men. And that's why we celebrate International Women's Day today. And that is a day to celebrate the amazing women you have in your life. Think of your mums and grannies and sisters and teachers and governors and all sorts of amazing women that we have in our lives, and why we celebrate this day to make sure that they are treated just the same as men in the world, and to make sure that they have their voice heard and that they are just as important. So I'm going to talk through some films that I think are really good at expressing this point and might help us have this discussion in our houses. So let's have a look at a few. Okay, so one film that I know that you all know of and is really good linking to this point is Frozen. Now, if we think back to some of our favourite Disney characters and Disney films, particularly our older Disney films, quite often there was a princess, a damsel in distress who needed help, and along came a prince to save her. And that is a brilliant story, and it's a popular story. We know that all through history. The damsel in distress is saved. And although we love those princesses for lots of different reasons, it doesn't help with the conversation that we're having today about International Women's Day. And the reason that I've picked Frozen as one of the stories is there are love interests in this film. For Anna, she's got Kristoff and Hans as love interests in this film. But the point of the film wasn't for them to save her. The point of the film wasn't for her to get married and live happily ever after. The whole point of the film Frozen was about the sisterhood between Anna and Elsa. And the whole point of this film was that they saved themselves and they saved each other. And they had men to help them along the way, as we have men in our lives that help us. You know, our dads look after us. We have male teachers at school. We have all sorts of men in our lives. But they weren't sitting around waiting for those men to save them. When Elsa felt that she was being oppressed by her powers, she took herself away and made herself happy living a life on her own, and she made that happen for herself. Equally, when Anna was trying to save her sister, she didn't stop and wait for someone to do it for her. She went out and she found her sister. And this is such a great message for girls and women, that it's great to have men in our lives, and the men in our lives are amazing, brilliant. We've got wonderful dads, teachers, all those people, but we can save ourselves. And that was one of the messages that I loved about Frozen. Was it was about these two women, sisters, and they saved each other. And that's a really important message for us to know, that we don't need to sit around and wait for a prince, that we can save ourselves. Now, this one I think is quite often misquoted as the first Disney film where women saved themselves. And quite a lot of people say that this is the first one where that happened. And I don't think that's true. So I'm going to go back a little bit more and look at an older film where I think the first Disney princess that did this. Let's take a look. So this Disney princess is Mulan, and you might not know the story of Mulan, you might. So I'm going to turn the camera back round and we'll have a little talk about Mulan. So the story of Mulan is based a long time ago, where there was a war in China, and all of the men in the country were called up to fight in that war. And Mulan's dad was poorly and she didn't want her dad to go and fight. So, strong woman that she is, she decided that she would disguise herself as a man and take his place and go off to fight in that war. Now, that's particularly important because that might not seem like a big thing to us now. We can go and make our decisions. But in the time that this was set, a long time ago, that was a really brave and powerful thing to do, to go and make that choice, and probably quite a dangerous thing to do as well, because if she had been caught, she would have been in lots of trouble. So I actually think that way before Frozen, Mulan was one of the first women who really showed feminism, that importance of being a woman and standing on your own and making those good choices. So Mulan is another one who I think is a really powerful role model for us on International Women's Day. Now, the next one that I want to talk about is one of my favourites ever, and it's a more recent one, and that one is Moana. Now, Moana, similarly to Mulan, was told that there was something she couldn't do, and that thing was to go out onto the sea. And all throughout the beginning of the film, when Moana was little, she's repeatedly told that that's something she cannot do. And she knows that she needs to do that. She knows what needs to happen, and she makes a decision to, again, maybe quite a dangerous choice, but to take the risk to go out into the world, go through the sea, and to end up saving her family and her island. And that is something she does. And again, really brave, really strong and powerful. And another thing that I think is really important about Moana is her physicality, the way she looks. So typically Disney princesses don't look necessarily how we look in real life. They're quite often very skinny bodies that are not natural, not attainable for most women. And what I love about Moana is that she was the first Disney princess who had kind of a normal body shape, a shape of someone that would live in the world and have the strength that she needed to do the things that she did, like sailing her boat. And I think that's really important for us to understand, that this is a real person and not just a cartoon. So Moana is another favourite of mine. And I also want to discuss another older one, which is Beauty and the Beast. Now, again, there is a prince involved in this story, but there are some really brave and powerful moments in this film that make Belle a feminist. So at the beginning of the film, the Beast takes Belle's dad captive and holds him in the castle. And Belle makes a really brave decision to swap places with her dad. So she could have left her dad there, but she decided that because he was old and poorly and she didn't want him to be left in the tower, she would swap places with him. And in the end, that turned out to be a really good choice, because she changed the mindset of the Beast. She changed a lot of things in this story, and it ended with a happy ending. But again, she has made a decision that wasn't typically what we would expect of women. And she made a choice to be brave by herself and not based on men. Right, so I'm going to do a post on the school Facebook page, and I'm going to link in another video that helps, I think, primary school children understand what International Women's Day is all about. So in this video, a group of young children are asked to draw some particular jobs. They're asked to draw the people that do those jobs. So there's a firefighter, I think there's a surgeon, and there is also a RAF pilot. And the children drew what they thought the people that did those jobs looked like. And most of the children drew those people to be men. And then at the end of the video, the real people that do those jobs were brought in and revealed to be that they were women. And why I think this is important is, in primary school and when you're young, you are typically taught, or you typically understand the world as being certain things for girls and boys. You sort of understand certain colours, certain jobs, certain toys are for girls and boys. And what this video, I hope, will show you is that anybody can do anything. And this doesn't just apply to girls for International Women's Day, but I want the boys to understand as well. If there's a job that you want to do that people think that women should do, I think it's really important that you understand as well that you also can do anything that you want to do. There is no man-woman job. There is no girl-boy colours. There are no specific girls-boys toys. If girls want to play with cars and boys want to play with Barbies, that's absolutely fine. And we should want to do whatever makes us happy, and whatever our friends want to do makes us happy, and we shouldn't judge those choices. So what I want us to learn from this video is that we can do anything we want to do, and that we also shouldn't judge others for doing anything that they want to do. And I think that's a really important message. And I'd like you to have a look at that other video if you can, and see if you can try and understand why those children maybe thought that those jobs were done by men, and how we might be able to change that. So have a talk at home with your mums and dads, maybe with your friends at school, and try and think, why did they think those jobs were done by men, and how can we make sure that that changes? So next time when we draw someone, it could be a lady. It doesn't have to be a man. And that's, I think, what International Women's Day is all about, celebrating that we have amazing women in our lives, and that for the girls and the women out there in the world, we can do anything that we want to do. So I hope you enjoy some of these films. I hope you've learned something on International Women's Day. If I see you around school, I'd love to hear how you celebrate International Women's Day. And I will see you all soon. Bye now.